It is Saturday the 19th of June 2021, and it's not often that videos from me these days actually fall on Saturdays the way they used to. I'm kind of putting them out on random days when they're needed. This one follows in the wake of the one I posted just a few days ago called Freedom Day is Any Day We Want It. Taken advantage of the fact that I now have access to my YouTube channel back following a 2-week ban and a second channel strike. We'll try and hold on to it for as long as we can. I am in the midst of a 30-day fastbook ban at the moment, so it seems if it ain't one thing, it's another. Anyway, that message of the other day pretty much carried its own theme and speaks for itself. This one is largely going to be a Tales from the Mailbag special, and it follows in the wake of the mass meditation that I organised for the other Sunday, the 6th of June at 6 p.m, 666. A lot of people got it twisted in terms of what I was trying to achieve by reclaiming that number back from the Satanists and the dark occultists. Many accusations from small-minded people that he's a Satanist, he's a devil worshipper, he's telling you he's using their number 666. People that couldn't even be bothered to read the show notes where I go to the effort of explaining why I'd chosen that particular date, and then if they'd actually watched the video and listened to what I'd had to say, they would have understood again from what was contained within the video. People just like these knee-jerk instant reactions. They've got attention spans of about 2 seconds and they just have to react there and then, never mind doing something as constructive as actually watching the video in question. Anyway, lots of positive feedback from that, so I'm going to be reading out some messages from people who have got in touch who did take part in that 6th of June meditation. I'm proposing that the next one we do together as a collective effort, imagining, willing, bringing into physical manifestation our vision, our imagination for truth, freedom, justice and love on the 7th of July, 7/7 at 7 p.m. UK time. So in a similar spirit to the 666 one, this will be 777, reclaiming that number. There's been some skullduggery and some shenanigans around that over the years. So there's another one that we can reclaim for the light and positive intent and everything that is good and inherent to creation. So let's make that happen next time around. I mean, in terms of the event that we all took part in, I've had much feedback to suggest that many hundreds of thousands of people participated in pooling their energy, their consciousness, their imagination in terms of bringing around the desired results that we all want. It cannot fail to have had an effect. It can be frustrating when you're looking for instant karma, instant reactions to these types of situations in terms of things playing out. And I'm sure many of us kept a close eye on the news headlines in the days after the 6th of June to see if there were any obvious indications of our event having an effect on playouts. We do have to be patient with these things. It's a life lesson that I'm learning the hard way. But honestly, with the amount of positive intent and prayer and energy that would have been put out into the ether by so many people all coming together and meditating at the same time on that date, it cannot fail to have had a positive effect on things. Either way, we can conclude that this earth is in a better condition right now than it would have been had that event not taken place. And I think that's been the case all along in this narrative. We can reflect on how much worse of a place we might all be in now if good people had done nothing. I've said time and time again there aren't enough good people stepping up and doing what needs to be done. But many have, and their efforts cannot be underestimated. There's been real-world physical activism taking place, and there's been that which is more on the metaphysical, spiritual side of things in terms of meditation and healing and all these other intention exercises that have gone on. I think we can conclude that we would all be in a very much worse state now if none of those things had taken place. It's got to have made a difference, it's got to have value, and there has to be a lot of common sense in keeping this dynamic going. So I do propose that the next one we all get our heads together on and our minds together on and our pineal glands together on will be for 777. So I do another announcement to that effect a bit nearer the time. Other than that, I do want to read out lots of the feedback that I've had from people in the wake of that meditation event, and a couple of other subjects included as well. So first off, as ever, we'll leave out the names, but these are all people that have emailed me or messaged me in other ways to give their feedback. This individual says, "Can't wait for the next event like this. To all the naysayers who don't believe in this kind of thing, the cabal, the elite, or whatever name you choose to give them, certainly do believe in it and have ensured that we, the people, have been doing it at their bidding for around the last 100 years. Consider the minute's silence every year at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. The real meaning behind that, I feel, is not to remember those who have died in various engineered conflicts, as we are told, but rather to give millions and focus millions of people on their intentions for the outcome of their planned wars. Also, look at the wording on typical war memorials such as Our Glorious Dead and The Ultimate Sacrifice. World wars change worlds and change society forever." Good point. Somebody else wrote to say, "Personally, I feel we should be doing meditations every day and growing the number of people involved as fast as possible, in whatever ways are available to do so. Meditation times could be set and promoted every day that people could take part in. For example, 12 noon and 7 p.m. If people adhered to those times, then there would hopefully always be groups taking part in them around the subjects of justice, freedom, truth, and love. These groups would increase in size, and so meditations would become more powerful. I believe a daily meditation would ensure that the vibe is up and strong." Well, I don't disagree with that, but somebody else is going to have to organise and curate daily meditations, because with the workload I've got on, once a month is all I can personally take on. So that's a job for somebody else to put together. Anyway, continuing. "Please, let's do more of this together. We can all work to spread the word about meditations taking place and then take part in them as often as we can. But it needs someone to get the message out about opportunities to meditate with others at set times each day." Yes, just what I was getting at. I'm not sure if this person is implying that should be me that organises this, but I've just made my position clear on that. Somebody else doing it would be great. Somebody else who took part in the meditation and achieved a channeling, a message which they brought through, wrote to say that this message really resonated with them. And the message goes, "We are listening to all your requests, and we know how much you all want to not only see the changes you wish to see on your world, but we also recognise how many of you want to be a part of those changes. You are the change makers. You are the ones to question everything and to envision a new world, a world where everyone lives in peace and harmony. This is absolutely the world you are moving towards. Some already experience this world in their minds, in their bodies, in their emotions, and in their energy fields. They are not escaping from the real world in doing this. They are creating the new world and building a bridge with their own bodies, with their own energies and psyches." So presumably this was spirit guides or ancestors or what people would call guardian angels giving this message. Certainly doesn't sound like any kind of negative entities putting that out. And in terms of manifesting that kind of world that we imagine, that we wish to see in our minds, it reminds me of the famous quote from George Bernard Shaw, who's not necessarily a guy to be admired when you get into his personal detail, but he did make some profound statements. And this particular one was used at the eulogy of Robert Kennedy by his brother Ted when it was given in 1968. It was recited, and he said, "Some men see the world the way it is and ask, why. Others see the world the way it could be and ask, why not? I've always loved that quote. That's resonated with me since I was a young lad. Next piece of correspondence. This person writes, "This element is something I learnt from a very clever lady years ago around the transfer of energy and positive manifestation. And this is the element of charging your intent and prayers with sacrifice. Now, this pagan element has been corrupted by Abrahamic religions and satanic entities in an attempt to make this a taboo area. Just for clarity, I'm not talking about any ritualistic sacrifice or harming anybody or anything. Quite the opposite, actually. Let me explain. During a recent discussion with our little group, we decided to offer our services free of charge to elderly or local residents who had difficulty maintaining their gardens. Now, one of the elderly women who was very isolated was delighted with our offer of help, and during tea breaks she announced that she was a herbalist and homeopathic healer. One of the guys who had done the work on her garden spoke about his partner having very serious health issues with a leg infection. She went to her shed and gave him 2 jars, one of Manuka honey and another of chaga mushroom extract. These did more good in a month than the endless antibiotics and steroids her GP had prescribed. The synchronicity meant these 2 people met for the first time due to an act of sacrifice and humanity. My thoughts were to ask those who truly wish to effect positive change on the 7th of the 7th at 7 p.m. to offer up a small pledge or sacrifice in benefit of another to increase the potency and charge of intent on that day. I truly believe this is an essential component in line with the energy flows which affect manifestation in this reality. This must be done in honour and with free will and a joyous heart, and not seen as a fake shortcut to fast track a spurious outcome. Purity of intent is critical if this process is to manifest. There's also a voice of dissent regarding the meditations and the efficacy or otherwise of them, and I offer this in the interests of keeping things balanced, and I'll leave it up to listeners to make of it what they will. Far be it from me to try and suggest how anyone should think. So I'll throw this one in there. And this guy writes, "It's about this mass meditation event. I do not think that it's going to help. Look at it this way. In the world, there are 2,382 billion Christians who say their daily prayers, 1,907 billion Muslims who follow and function in a similar way, 1,161 billion Hindu who meditate and repeat mantras, and 0.5 billion Buddhists who also repeat endless mantras and function in a mechanical, repetitive, disciplined way, which is basically what the last world teacher, Jiddu Krishnamurti, was saying. He was warning those who would listen about the consequences of their actions, and that the solution was a transformation, not a reaction. That works out to around 6 billion humans who function in a mechanical way in a psychological sense. That's a form of mind control. So basically, this mass meditation event that you mention is not a new thing, because this kind of thing has been going on for thousands of years. In theory only, we should now be peaceful, rational, sane, and compassionate, but we're certainly not. So far, we've had 2 world wars and now a 3rd world war based on the COVID hoax, based upon political propaganda, lies and fear. So if we think that saying a prayer or thinking nice thoughts or ringing a bell or banging a drum will radically change the world, then all we need to do is to go back in history and see that this kind of thinking has been a deception, a total waste of time. The violence and the threats and the genocide have never stopped. Well, they haven't, but I go back personally to my previous comment to the effect that the meditation that was done the other week cannot fail to have had an effect. And it has to have done some good in terms of raising vibrations and setting intent and will out there. It's better than not having done it, in my view. But I'll leave everyone else to come to their opinion on that, as they surely will. Okay, the notice board section, just a few announcements to make. Many protest events, freedom rallies, marches taking place in London in the coming days. The first one, as I record this, is happening tomorrow, Sunday the 20th of June. Just to read out what I've got here on it. 100,000 plus dedicated men and women opposed to V-passports and lockdown restrictions will work the biggest outreach project to ever hit the streets of Britain. This outreach march will start at 1 p.m. in South London and thereafter join the Love Down guys for debriefing, refreshments and rest. I don't have a specific start point for that, but evidently it's somewhere in South London. Anyone that wants to be a part of that event, I'm sure you'll be able to find out easily enough how to get involved. I also hear word that there are plans to pay a visit, an occupational sit-in to the private London residence of a certain loathed and deeply detested government minister tomorrow as well. I won't give further details on that, but again, anyone that wants to be a part of it, I'm sure you'll be able to find out how you can make your contribution to that particular event. On Monday, the 21st of June, summer solstice, Freedom Day. Yeah, right. Major demonstrations taking place outside Parliament. I believe the gathering is starting sometime around 11 a.m. It's going to be happening there for quite a few hours on Monday the 21st. This is a slightly different operation to doing things at weekends. This is a Monday, it's a working day for all the treasonous demons in Parliament trying to go about their business. All other expressions of the establishment that keep the cogs turning in the control system machine will be trying to go about their business on a Monday. So bringing things to a standstill and creating some major opposition to what's going on a Monday is very different to doing it on a Saturday. This, I feel, is going to be a massive turnout, the biggest yet for a weekday. So Monday 21st of June, I'm looking forward to being a part of that one myself, outside Parliament. Let's make it happen. Then a few days after that, of course, Saturday the 26th, major protest freedom rally throughout the streets of London. And I'm sure this one is going to top 1 million people. It stands to be the biggest yet, particularly in light of our freedoms not having been given back to us when we were told they would. And so many people who had hopes pinned on it, treating this as the final straw. And could it possibly be their line in the sand? They're not having it anymore. There's word of certain sound systems getting out on the street and being a part of that march, which will hopefully bring a whole crew of ravers on the scene. Although I do hope people are there for the right reasons. They're not treating it as an opportunity to take their shirt off and have a piss up and just go dancing to some great sounds in the sun. There's more to being involved than that. It's about sending a very clear visual signal that we do not take kindly to the removal of our rights and freedoms. But having said that, the more the merrier, the more numbers we can get on board, the bigger a statement we can make with this event, then the more power and value it's going to have. So 1 million plus people surely on the streets of London, Saturday 26th of June. I'll see you at that one. And on that note, another piece of correspondence from the Mailbag, somebody talking about the dynamic of these London events, writes, I just saw your latest video and you've mentioned that there'll be another protest taking place in London. So the suggestion to the protest participants is that while they're marching in the streets, to peacefully go into shops in droves without wearing any masks and not complying with any of the other rules that those shops are enforcing. This scamdemic could end very quickly. I'm not in the UK or Berlin, but I would most definitely implement that practice into those protests. That's a good point, because these London events always end up going along Oxford Street. You always have a lot of confused, bemused-looking normies peering out from behind their masks, wondering what's going on. This is a great opportunity to go into shops, as this person suggests, without a mask in sight, not complying with any of their fascist diktats, and getting the message out to the shoppers going about their business. People who aren't yet converts, they're not yet on our side, but they could be. If they could be taken into the whole spirit of this event and given information and, very kindly and compassionately spoken to about the lies that we're all living under. So there is a lot of potential there, I feel. In light of the bloated, gallows-dodging Etonians' recent announcements about what can and can't go ahead, I'm not now going to be DJing at either the Chimera or the No Vax, No Test festivals. These were both due to take place this coming weekend. They've both now been cancelled. The No Vax, No Test festival was cancelled a while back. Excuse me, get rid of that. And the Chimera Festival, taking place in Tunbridge Wells, has now had to be cancelled as well in light of recent events. So I think the Chimera one is off altogether. The No Vax, No Test, they're hoping to find new land to be able to do it later in the summer. But hey, everything else has been cancelled. Our lives have been cancelled. 2020 was cancelled. 2021 is cancelled. Fun is cancelled. I think we're all getting quite used to it, really, aren't we? But I will be in London on Saturday the 26th anyway, making the best possible use of that weekend. I'm told that the Questioning Science conference, which so many of us are looking forward to next month over the weekend of the 16th to the 18th of July, is able to still take place. The organiser, Gloria Moss, is talking with the venue in terms of what would need to be in place for this to be able to be achieved. But as things currently stand, that event is still going ahead. It does, after all, carry the status of an educational event. And the virus, as we well know, is very clever. It knows the difference. It would say, "Right, what are you lot up to? You out for a social jolly, are you? Well, I'm having you. I don't want you lot having fun." But it would also say, "Oh, you're an educational event. Fair enough. No, I respect that. Yep, as you were. I'll leave you alone. No worries, no worries." I'm hearing great feedback from the Bernician, Michael O'Bernisia, about his private criminal prosecutions against Hancock, Whitty, Vallance and Ferguson. I've had a few conversations with Michael in previous days, and he's feeling very hopeful and optimistic about an unexpected factor behind the scenes which actually works in our favour. Imagine that. The universe actually appears to be aligning in favour of truth and justice. So I really hope there are going to be some formal announcements in the coming days on that front, but from what I've heard myself, things are looking very hopeful and very positive for the sort of result that so many of us want to see from that one. I'll keep you posted just as soon as I hear any more about that. Other than that, keep checking the channel for new videos. Got some new podcasts coming in the upcoming days. The Sound of Freedom episode 105 is now live. It's available on Mixcloud to stream or be downloaded, and that's 2 hours plus of conscious message truth music. Just to advise, I still have a few of these leaflets, double-sided, including QR codes to be scanned, largely focused on the V-word agenda, but with other alternative resources about the scamdemic as well. Ideal to be given out at these protest events, but better yet, to be given out with your close circle of family and friends to make that personal engagement with them. Still happy to send out quantities of these anywhere in the UK to anyone that wants to help get them out. Just drop me an email to markdevlinuk@gmail.com, and if you're able to put £4 in my PayPal just to cover the postage costs, that would be much appreciated, and I can get a quantity of these leaflets out to you. Let's get them out on the streets where they belong. Other than that, in the words of Sean Puff Daddy P. Diddy Combs, not his quote, "Take that, take that, take that, take that." I think with Puff Daddy we can probably guess what he's interested in taking. No, it's not that one. It's the one where he goes, "And we don't stop, and we won't stop, 'cause we can't stop, and we can't. I'll stop when they stop."